So, my name is Sebastian. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, fine. My name is Sebastian. I'm working for VMware, and I'm here with my colleagues Carsten and Peter to present a little bit what we are doing. Yeah, what cool stuff. And yeah, I work for the end-user computing business unit in Germany as a senior systems engineer. So I know a little bit about our stuff, and I know also a little bit of all the Citrix stuff because I've done Citrix for over 17 years. So, Carsten, would you?
Yeah, my name is Peter Schrammel. I'm the lead SE for the ESC and ER practice for VMware. So I have a similar history than Sebastian has 20 years as a Citrix consultant in Europe. My main focus is really the application product stack, so up volumes, Mirage, Flex, and Horizon Air are the main focus in the UC practice. And I'm happy to see a couple of Citrix guys from the past. I already saw a couple of them, so good to be here.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi guys. Well, you can't imagine how good that feels to be here after 4 days of Gartner Symposium this week. So I've been starting in the whole business of server-based computing about 2000. So 2004, I guess, was my first pub forum, and I never presented because at that time I started to do something different than just architecture and technology. So in 2004, I was still a freelance consultant and architect for some large Citrix environments, and then moved over into outsourcing for about 7 years, and later on got asked by VMware to support them in their advisory services team. So I do work in advisory services, which is a business consulting team basically. So I'm going to shut up as fast as possible because according to what we did in the last few years, it was all about technology. But in case you would like to know more about that, like how we approach the whole discussion about business transformations and how to map that to technology, we could either talk over a beer or set up a session or workshop for the next one, for the next E2E, if that's interesting for you. Because I've heard from some of you that you're moving into that field too, so no longer doing only technology. That might be something to discuss about. Okay, so what are we doing in the VMware organization regarding end-user computing? You might have seen that we did a number of acquisitions during the last 2 years. So the last 2 years, we acquired Desktone, made a reseller agreement with Cisco, launched Horizon 6, launched Horizon Air, the cloud-based service, added Flex to the portfolio, got very good ratings from Gartner, from GigaOm, and others, and also IDC lately. Acquired Immediate and launched AirWatch after acquiring them about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, roughly. So they're a leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrants for ages now, and we moved up to the upper right corner. So I guess we did a big jump in innovating. Is that how you could perceive us, or do you see it differently? Any opinions?
On AirWatch specifically? AirWatch?
No, in general, the innovations VMware has made. Have you been aware of all that and recognized that?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a number of these acquisitions and products later on. Okay, so looking at that, our foundation is what we did in the data center for 15 years now. So basically, our software-defined data center that can either be built your own, stuck in your own data center on-premise, or it could be a converged infrastructure that has been prepared by some vendor, like VCE. Or it could even be hyperconverged, which basically is what we offer as SDDC, virtualizing not only compute, but also the network, as well as its storage. We'll talk about that later. That's the foundation for either running it privately in your data center, running it in vCloud Air, our cloud service, or running it in the vCloud Air network of other providers using the same technology, which gives you the ability to migrate the workloads from on-premise into the cloud and back. I mean, not like in AWS, which is Hotel California, isn't it? You never check out again. So, based on that, we give you the ability to run any kind of applications, maybe traditional or cloud-based, on-premise, in the cloud, and move them back and forth. And that all can be accessed, and this is the end-user part, from any device. So it's the any device, any application, one cloud story. One cloud does not mean only us. We're integrating others, but mainly we are the integrator for that. So we do have a cloud management platform that allows you to move the workloads around. Sorry. Looking at the product overview, the first view on that could be this way, that you look at the lifecycle management of the device the application is provided to, with all the provisioning, updates, break fix, and all that stuff. Then the delivery on either physical devices or even offline capable onto a physical device. Then virtualized as an application on top of some operating system or from the cloud. Different ways to deliver the application. Consuming it would be either user installed, the mobile application could be provided from portal or from the device itself and be provisioned from the portal, or it could be user settings, so UEM, or it could be a BYOD device we manage this way. And there's a number of other topics we're addressing. Avoiding conflicts between applications, simplifying the login for the user with single sign-on and stuff like that, including legacy applications, and also monitoring the whole stack. As you've seen, we start from the data center, from the hypervisor, all the way up to the application. So we have an end-to-end monitoring and full stack monitoring capability compared to others where you just integrate best-of-breed products and have to think about how to monitor that by yourself. Looking at the different areas we're covering, this is basically what the guys are going to cover right now, is the application packaging is one topic. Oops, sorry. The application provisioning, the delivery, and the access, a lot of maintenance for the application and the application monitoring. As I mentioned, end-to-end monitoring for the applications. And that's, I guess, the right moment to hand over to the guys who can explain about all the products you can see underneath. Did I got one?
Okay. So we have a lot of products, so we have also a lot of slides. I don't think we can go through all of them, but we will try, and if not, ask us. So first, our approach for application management is not only for the virtual stuff, like VDIs or Xen desktops or View terminal services. It's also for the physical devices, yeah, where we can provide them with applications and the people can work with their applications. And then to consume everything, we have a portal there where we can where with every device you can go to that portal.
Because we had a lot of discussions about where's the desktop going when integrating with the different mobile devices, and that's our answer to that. So we want to provide a consistent look and feel for all the different devices across the different platforms. So this is the entry point for the user in the end.
So and then we have, like you see, we produce the applications, we deliver the applications, and then someone will consume the applications. And for producing the applications, we got three different mechanisms. Yeah, that's app volumes for real-time application delivery. We will come back later a little bit more about that. That's Mirage for physical devices like laptops, notebooks, and so on. And that's
as well as virtual. So the image management for virtual VDIs is possible for a persistent desktop. Non-persistent, you can manage the template, but you can't manage the device itself. But for persistent desktops, you can use Mirage for image management and update or application delivery as well.
Yeah, and then we have Synapse to isolate the applications. Yeah. And you know about app volumes, or did you hear about it before? You know what it is? Yeah.
Guys, can you wake up, please?
Who knows about app volumes? Ever heard about it?
Okay.
Tomorrow we will do a deep dive session.
Who used app volumes before or is using it already? Demo, POCs, or just a lab at home in secret?
I guess they got a check.
Yeah, so with app volumes we do really real-time application delivery that deliver applications in seconds. Yeah. And now can understand. Sometimes it goes through and sometimes not.
Should wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should I start the video?
Yeah,
You want it? Sure.
So we have a little video how it's functioning.
So while Sebastian is preparing, then I can talk a little bit about how that works. So in general, we have two different modes with app volumes. You have the VHD native mode, which will also be interesting in the future for physical devices. And we can probably touch on that as well.
Yeah.
And you have the VHD or VMDK mode, which is mounted via the vCenter or via the hypervisor into a virtual machine. So what we basically do is we mount a VMDK file as a second drive to that virtual machine, and the app volume agent is filtering the drive letter and all the functionalities out, so it looks and feels like a native installed application. It shows up on the C program data or program files, and it is a fully consistent app stack in terms of the delivery. That means it's much easier to deliver because you don't have to package it. You run through the install in provisioning mode, and that gives you an app stack, so much simpler, because you wouldn't think of packaging an operation system, obviously. So why packaging an application if you don't have to? Yeah. Under some circumstances, you have to package an application because you want to customize it. But even with a small amount of customization, you can do that as an app volume app stack, and it's as simple as the install that you have to do. You click through the install or do that automated, and then that gives you an app stack. And that can be fully automated end to end from the start of the provisioning to the point where the app stack is finished and able to deliver to a desktop.
So the main advantage is that you install them once, you have a storage footprint just once for all the applications, then you mount it to all the running sessions, so you don't replicate it on the storage, which brings down your cost a lot.
Yeah, you see here we got 50 applications in 10 seconds or so. So I think that's really fast. SCCM is not able to do that.
And I think the main differentiation is, if you look back in older days, what we used as application delivery method was AppV, Synapse, or native installed applications, because you didn't have anything better than to stream the application into the desktop to make that separation, to have a non-persistent feeling for the admin, but give a persistent feeling for the end user. With app volumes, the delivery is instant, and it's much easier to deliver an app stack into a virtual desktop than with AppV or with Synapse. Synapse is an option that you can use as well as AppV in an app stack. So if you already have a Synapse package, you can use that Synapse package to create an app stack. If you need segmentation or sandboxing, if you run multiple versions side by side in one app stack, that is still valid and still, but AppV as well as Synapse was never intended to deliver applications, but it was kind of misused because we didn't have anything better at that time.
There was a question?
Yeah, are these applications also available on computer start or VM start?
There are two options, and that depends on what mode you use. If you use VHD native mode, it is always at user logon. If you use VMDK mode, you can also instantly mount an app stack into the client, even if the user is already logged on, and that was what you saw in the video, so you can instantly mount that. The limitation is on the VHD mode. On VHD mode, we mount that via the computer, and that means the user can't get that app stack instantly. He has to log on, and with that, he gets then an app stack. So the communication is very, very simple. The agent basically checks what users logging on, goes back to the app volume manager, and so that's 10 pounds. No, that's 100 pounds actually. So the app volume manager checks the entitlement, and then the machine basically mounts the VHD file in with VMDK files. That is done via vCenter or can be done via our host. And that gives you the advantage that you can immediately attach and detach it, even if that's probably not something that you would do in a productive environment, because if you detach it, you basically rip the application out of the operation system, and Windows is normally not very happy about that, and the end user probably also not. So, but in an emergency case, you can do that. If you want to switch back to an older version, you can immediately detach that and attach an older version. Anything that runs in memory will be there. So that's the tricky part, because you can't control it. If the user is running the application, he will see error messages and all sorts of problems, because not anything of the application is already running in memory. So if he clicks on open, he will obviously get an error message. But if he has Word, for example, open, he can still run Word even if it's not there, but he can't, call any other threads. That's the problem.
So tomorrow we will have a deep dive.
We go into that in more detail, so I will see you face tomorrow in the session then, yeah?
How about application dependencies?
Yeah, what we do is we honor conflicts. So that's not a silver bullet to get around application conflicts.
No, it's more like dependencies.
Dependencies is less a problem. The recommended way would be, if you have like an Office apps and an Office stack, you would install obviously all the applications in one app stack. But you can also separate that you have Visio or project separate, and then because the application reacts as a native install application, so the interaction between the application, one that is already in the base build and one that you attach as an app stack, it is compliant in terms of interaction.
Can you link them?
Yeah, you can link them. You can also call. So if you call from an Office app stack and a DLL or an plugin, you can call it as well. That's possible. Yeah?
Tomorrow we're in the session.
But we go into more detail in the session.
And we can also create abstracts, destroy abstracts, whatever you want. No problem. Yeah. It's also function with that.
So we support XenApp and XenDesktop to 6.5 actually. That will change.
7. We also support.
Yeah, 7.x is the version that is coming in the next release. So, and we have in the session tomorrow, we have also an use case where we have a service provider that uses standard Citrix deployment provisioning service, and we replace basically the application delivery with app volumes, and the savings on storage are significant, but I don't want to go in too much detail now, because otherwise you don't come to the session tomorrow.
But it will also function with Xen Server and with IOV, with VHD modes. Yeah, then we have another approach for application producing. That's VMware Mirage, and Peter, I think.
Who is familiar with Mirage or have heard about Mirage? No? Physical device management, no problem for you guys?
Everything virtualized?
99% obviously?
Yeah.
So Mirage, the concept of Mirage is really a layered approach. So we segregate the different layers, like the driver library, the base layer, and the application layers into logical layers, and you can deliver them separately, and you can also swap them. So if I do an operation system patch, I create that on a reference machine, and we deliver only the file set compared to PCLM, because PCLM traditionally downloads an executable and is launched or executed by an agent trigger. We do that in a similar way, but we do it on a reference machine, and we capture just the file set and then deliver the file set, which means an Office setup is probably much bigger as the end result of the finished Office installation. And that's really the benefit, because you're just delivering the file set. You don't have to do any local execution on the endpoint. And the benefit is then that you only have one reboot, because we can combine multiple patches, multiple service packs, and also multiple operation or application updates into one reboot and apply it at once. That means the user does not suffer for multiple reboots for service pack and then for Office and other applications. So you can combine it in one reboot, It is highly efficient in terms of file and block level deduplication, so we use file and block level deduplication as well as in the delivery, as well as in the backup or the disaster recovery functionalities. Means if we all share a PowerPoint presentation and anyone makes one change, we will only capture that once, and then the differences compared to the different version, what significantly reduces the footprint on the storage side. Yeah?
That's our use cases.
Main use cases are really Windows migration, without any specifics. So Windows XP to 7 is still a topic for us. A lot of enterprise customers are still on Windows XP. So that's not going away. What is an interesting use case, and we just won one of the biggest POS implementation in Europe with a retail store. They have around about 50,000 POS devices ready 2009 and ready 7, and they use Mirage to manage the POS devices. So that gives you image management and provisioning, as well as base layer provisioning or base layer deployment. So if you're in a retail field and you have to manage the POS devices, that's definitely an option as well. And then the usual stuff like single image management, desktop recovery. So we are capable to protect a laptop and then restore that file set to any hardware, because we are separating the driver library from the operation system, what gives you more flexibility. So if I have in a DR scenario, I can capture a Dell laptop and deliver that to an ASUS or to an IBM or whatever. So you get less tied into the hardware driver, because that's separated out in the driver library.
And when working in outsourcing, we had two issues to solve. We never really solved. One was decoupling the hardware lifecycle from the operating system lifecycle because of the driver issues when restoring to a different Java hardware. And the other one was we were looking for a tool that does zero-touch migration, so we didn't have to send somebody on site to support the migration.
Yeah, good point.
And I guess both is covered by Mirage pretty well. So you've got a mechanism to fall back to the previous operating system due to the backup that's being performed. So in the end, if something goes wrong during the migration, which is basically downloading the new operating system in the background, rebooting and getting it started, and if something goes wrong or you forgot to package an application that had been installed on that machine and cannot be applied again, then you have to fall back because you have the backup in the data center, so you can just apply the restore functionality and then recover the machine. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, then we have Synapse. Yeah, I think most of you know Synapse. It's an application isolation and works very well. And so the really great thing is that you don't need any infrastructure for Synapse. Yeah, you have an exe file. You can click the exe file and you will start V0, whatever.
Fully self-contained file.
Yeah. So for application delivery, yeah, we do a lot. So we can do VDIs where your users can, or your customers can log on via VDI. We can do RDSH-based desktops or RDSH-based hosted applications, and we have done a lot for application delivery in the last years, or in the last year. So not only USB storage, link integration, or 3D graphics integration. So we launched Horizon 6.2 2 months ago or so with a lot of new features we integrated. Yeah, for example, that we have a composer for RDSH farms. That means we have linked clones. Yeah, and we can now not only clone a VDI desktop, Windows 7 or Windows 8 or 10, we can also clone Windows servers. Yeah.
So it's basically the same technology that we use on the VDI side for Windows 7 or Windows 8 or 10. The composer is exactly using the same technology, but now you can also recompose or compose a server operation system, what plays into that RDSH application delivery model, because you have to manage, or you don't want to manage 50 or 100 RDSH servers with the standard toolset that you have. With a recompose, that's much easier and much more compelling than to manage them single.
And that's not the end. We are going for next composers with VM fork technologies. That means that we will clone a VM that is live, that is up and running, yeah, we will clone that VM, and so in seconds we have new VMs, yeah, for Windows 7.
Yeah, because the main focus or the main problem that we still have in VDI, if you look at provisioning service or if you look at composing, you still compose on storage. And that means it is much slower than to compose in memory. So with the next generation View Composer, we will have the capabilities to compose in memory, which means you have a template sitting on storage, and you mount that, and anything that is related to that operation system and is already running in memory, you just fork that as a second machine with the full functionalities that the first machine has, and that takes a couple of seconds because memory is obviously much faster than storage depending on what storage architecture you have, but still storage is always a write back to media, and that is much slower in terms of composing.
We have enhanced our load balancing mechanisms. Everything you can look with perf1, yeah. Now you can load balance, yeah. You can do scripts, and every counter you can
incorporate the decision.
Yeah, make that. So we have our cloud-pod architecture. Our cloud-pod architecture is the way that we can enhance an installation. So if we can on one pod, yeah, we name it pod on one data center. Yeah, we can have 10,000 users with cloud-pod architecture, for example. We can extend that to another data center with more. With 10,000 users more.
So it's the fundamental building block of that we put into one data center. If you put it in a second one, you can use it as a DR or as a extension to be more scalable. That's basically the building blocks to be placed in the different data centers.
Who of you is familiar with the cloud-pod architecture that we have for VMware View? Anyone? Oh, great! You get a beer for me.
So we have FIPS and from criteria certifications we will get, yeah. We will have a single access point, yeah, and the single access point
we already have, Sebastian.
We already have, right. And that access point is in Linux-based clients here, which sits on the DMZ, and the View client is talking to them as well as the browser. If you connect via Blast, for example, that's already protocol, and also future products from us. And Mirage, for example, also all our products, yeah, will talk to that access point, and that access point then will talk to the internal.
So in large-scale installations, you might continue using F5, but in smaller ones, even if you want to be redundant, you just put a load balance in front of the access point and put 2 or 3 of them in front of your environment, and get pretty good scalability by just scaling them out.
And that is scaling, that scales, we can say, because we use that in our Horizon Air offering. So we have thousands of users which connect to our Horizon Air offerings around the world, and in front of that, the access point is.
So maybe to give you a little bit overview of the access point in general, so that's the replacement, or it will replace the connection server, security server and connection server. And access point is basically really the platform that sits in DMZ and then brokers your sessions into your View environment. And that is really the main focus, because we are walking away from Windows licensing that you need in the DMZ with the security server. It's a hardened appliance, it's much more flexible, and we will bring all the technologies that we support in the ESE stack into access point, which means you deploy one access point or a pair of access points, as Carsten said, can sit behind a load balancer, can be load balanced in a simpler fashion with DNS round robin, for example. And that gives you then the ability to have access point and then enable services on access point depending on what you use. So if you use Mirage or you start with your View environment, you have access point there. You enable the View part of access point. If you buy Mirage on top of that, you enable that service on access point. So it's one appliance that covers all the functionalities in terms of connection back into your infrastructure.
So it has no load balancing? Does it have redundancy?
It is not redundant per se. At the moment, you would deploy a pair of access points and then have a load balancer in front of them.
You put a NetScaler up front.
If you are desperate, you would do a NetScaler. You can do a 5. Any load balancing that is in place can be used.
So it doesn't matter which load balancer.
And as we mentioned, we do have network virtualization where load balancing is just a feature, so you don't need a physical appliance for that.
But you can also, in front of that, as a load balancer, you can also have NSX. Yeah, our network virtualization. Maybe you heard of that, and we can also load balance with that. So then we have our virtual ZAN. We integrated in Horizon View a few license things, yeah, with virtual ZAN. So now we can have the all-flash virtual ZAN. The license is included directly in Horizon, and also the stretch cluster functionalities.
So the whole idea behind it is getting rid of all the NAS connections or SAN connections that you might need, and make sure that you have a high number of IOPS based on local storage, which eliminates all the additional hardware required. And that's pretty well, so then that figures by 100. So we can run a VDI environment completely on vSAN today. No need for a SAN in the back.
Then all of you heard about vGPU, yeah, and we can also do vGPU with the profiles with the NVIDIA K1, K2, M60 and M6 cards, yeah. So well, that's the thing. I think you know what we have 4 ways of virtualization of the graphic cards. Software 3D, it's VSGA, Grid GPU, vGPU, and VDJ that's dedicated to. And for all the workloads you have, task worker, power users, and so on, you can have the right decision, or you can choose which graphic virtualization you want to have. Yeah. So, but we are not only partnering with NVIDIA, and I think that's great because there are other hardware vendors out like AMD who also make great graphic cards, and so also with AMD you can have VDGA, that means direct pass-through of the graphic card, and AMD does a lot in that space at the moment. They have new cards with 16 GPUs or something, yeah, where you can have where you can pass through directly. So also we have 4K resolution support if you want, if you have that monitors or not. So we have client drive redirection now. Yeah, we got some customers which move over from Citrix and they want that feature, and we said okay, you can get it, but we prefer other ways for file exchange. So also file type association with published apps, yeah, like you know from Citrix. If you click a doc file, then automatically the published application will open. So also we have Linux, Horizon for Linux, so we support Linux operating systems like Ubuntu, NeoKylin. Never heard about that before, but okay. Red Hat, CentOS, yeah, and also with 3D workloads, yeah. You can also have 3D workloads, yeah, with yeah.
Shine.
Yeah.
Chinese version, right?
Yeah.
Never used it. We'll be able to.
It's what's important to have.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Few numbers.
Yeah. We have very big projects with many, with over 100,000 users.
I think especially in the development space or in the CAD space, you see much more move from Windows into Linux-based desktops, because from a licensing perspective, it's definitely cheaper and it gives you more flexibility. A lot of companies are developing on Linux, so there is no need for having that on a Windows-based desktop.
Yeah. And we can also do 3D with vGPU with Linux. We can VSGA for if you don't have that much workload.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're able to do Windows 10, of course, macOS El Capitan, iOS 9, and I think that's a great thing. Yeah, with your finger, you can now use the biometric authentication of your iPhone, and you are automatically connected to our Horizon system. So that's the thing.
I think that's the most important one for you guys as the application management or Horizon application management bundle. You can use all the components in your environment, either Citrix or VMware. And the benefit is really with the identity management, we move away from, so we have one platform where you broker all your applications. That's your consumption platform where the user logs on, single sign-on. You can integrate second or additional factor authentication. You have user environment management for managing the user environment.
Yeah, I will open the VIDM part.
So the main focus on VIDM is really that you can cover all your application in one portal and consume that from one portal. SAML-based, SAS-based applications, Citrix published applications, RSH, Synapse, anything that you might have in your environment can be consumed from here. We also federate with Office 365, Google Chrome, Google Docs. So that gives you really a central platform. The benefit is really the user logs on with his AD credentials and he doesn't have to care of other credentials that he has in the background, because we are managing that. As long as the application in the background is SAML capable, you can integrate that, which means it makes it much easier for you to manage it, because you disable the AD account and he doesn't have any other access methods anymore. For some applications that's not true, because you have different ways to access them. You can still access them via the URL. But in most of the applications, if you enable SAML, for example, then VIDM or the identity management is the only way to authenticate against that application, which means there is no backdoor open where the user can use a URL to log on, because it redirects you to the VIDM portal, and if the AD account is disabled, you can't log on anymore. So much simpler, and that gives you really the benefit of having one portal where you consume all your applications and all your services that you want to launch, including desktops, obviously.
Yeah. The last thing I quickly want to introduce is our monitoring. In the session before, someone also said VROPs or realize operations, yeah. And with realize operations, yeah, now we can also monitor not only the ESX infrastructure underlying, but we can also do in-guest monitoring for your Xen app or Xen desktop or Horizon View systems, yeah. So that we have monitoring of the tasks or the processes which are able for ICA and so on, for lock-on metrics we have. And everything is in one console. The right one here.
So if you already use Citrix Director, you can get those stats and those configuration also in VROP. So you have one pane of glass where you get your whole monitoring, and that is really the advantage, to have one console where you basically get the whole monitoring, and that can be integrated also in other systems that you already have in place to get a consistent monitoring of your infrastructure.
In the interest of time, I guess we should wrap up what we heard here and set it in context. So we've been discussing about traditional end-user computing enhancements we've been doing within the last one and a half years now. So what we did not cover is the whole space of AirWatch, where you have enterprise mobility management, so MDM, MAM, MCM, and all that stuff. Which is a completely different beast and is being integrated now on the level of IDM. So IDM, when presented to mobile devices, shows you all the internal mobile device applications on top of what we've seen before. So there's a full integration between these two. So basically, looking at the completeness of vision that we have with all our products, I guess that's a real differentiator. We're the only one in the market who can offer all that stuff from just one vendor, including covering the full stack, hypervisor and up to the application management, full monitoring of the stack and all that stuff.
Network virtualization for security reasons,
So
microsegmentation.
The whole SDDC underneath, including the hyperconverged infrastructure, which gives you a good ability to reduce your costs in the data center. So in the end, I guess, we don't only have the broadest vision of how to do that, but also the best ability to execute that. Which brings me back to what I mentioned when we started. So looking at Gartner, these is the two measurements they apply to everything. And I guess this is why we're upper right in the Magic Quadrant with all of the other products. So I guess we're the ones with the best vision and the best ability to execute.
Some questions?
Any questions?
Are you still awake?
Yes, sir.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Was that a question? Give him the mic.
When is the VM forking actually there?
VM fork is coming with Project Enso, what you saw on the hierarchy on the right hand side. So that's an item that will come in the first half next year. But we are looking at a beta, so you can apply for if you have one customer that is interested in it. We have a beta program where you can apply for. So if you have any questions after the session, come to me and then we can discuss what to do if you have one customer that is interested in that.
Project Enso is not only the VMware technology, it's
much more, yeah.
It's much more, yeah. So it's our main, it will be our main GUI, let us say, for all the management.
Yeah, you have to differentiate. The Project Enso gives us the ability for a just-in-time desktop and the manageability of all the converged infrastructure that you have, either public, private, or hybrid cloud. And on top of that, we have a project that's called Astro, and Astro unifies the management console to one consumption model where you have one console where you can manage your applications, your desktops, your storage, and your compute in one single console. It looks very similar like the AirWatch console. And if you're interested, I can show you a beta, because we have a beta version running in a tenant. So you get a look and feel of how that looks like. That will come first in Horizon Air, but we will also extend it then to on-prem or converged infrastructure, hybrid infrastructure. But the main focus at the moment is Horizon Air, to have those functionalities in there. And we will integrate then step by step also the application technology like AppVolumes, UEM will be the first things they come into Project Enso, including the just-in-time desktop or next generation view composer.
So we're basically following the trend we see many customers to go cloud first. Okay, any other questions? Well, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.